Hi everybody, this is Night Fighter 22. I hope you guys are all well. We're playing Nightly News rated 1344. Now we've got a Queen Pawn game today, not something that I've studied that much. I'm going to go for a Nimzo Indian Defence, or thereby, sort of thing. Yeah, not something I've studied a lot of, but definitely something to look at in the future. I'm just going to go ahead and get castled. Yeah, I often find the Queen's Pawns games are more sort of tactical. Sorry, they're more positional. They're less tactical, tend to be a little bit more boring. That's just my opinion. I'm going to fianchetto this. But nonetheless, it's nice to have some practice against them. If he ever moves his bishop out here, there's going to be a threat on that, which won't be very nice. F3, really? I wouldn't have made that move. What about C5? No, that just blocks our bishop out and it forces the trade with the knight. If we play c5 and he plays a3. How about d5? Yeah, d5's good. The time's not right to play knight c6 yet. Okay. Going home. He's going home. I wouldn't have taken that if I was him. Is he trading the knights? Bishop takes here. No, he's not. Okay. We've got to be careful on c7. Obviously, we can't take back here with the queen. What about knight d7 followed by c5? He still hasn't castled as well. That's crazy. It's going to make an interesting attack, along here. Ultimately, I think it's best to move the knight back to here. I'm still going to play c5 anyway. If he plays e5, I'm just going to perch it right back there. The only issue with this kind of position is the knight's not defending h7. You've got to be careful with some of the light squares. As you can see, he's pulled his bishop back. He might want to get the queen into the action. Alternatively, he might be getting his bishop along here. Alright, now's the right time to play c5. That d4 pawn is very weak. Very weak. He's going to struggle to castle in this position. Okay, he's trading the knight off. It's a bit of a shame. Do we want to take that right away? It's tempting to take it. Although it's that kind of position where it's more tempting if he takes and then we play take on c5. Let's get the rook onto here. So when we take, he has some more issues with the bishop. How about we play queen c7? If he castles, we'll take, and that'll be very nasty. He's threatening mate. Yeah, that was going to happen, wasn't it? I'm sorry, but we might just have to weaken our dark squares by playing g6. Makes our light bishop pretty useless, but that dark bishop is now strong. Okay, it's time to do that. This got very complicated all of a sudden. Take here, attacking the queen. I feel like the pieces are on overload all of a sudden. He's got to probably play knight to e2 here. Yeah. So we're a pawn up now. Down on time. What about just this for a second? Just weakening his position even more. Yeah. I'm going to reroute this bishop to c5 now. Oh, he's got to be careful. What about this? Has he not lost that knight now? I'm really glad we managed to take that dark square bishop, because it just means that having this pawn on g6 with all these dark squares is not so much of an issue. We can do this. You might be able to block that with the knight. Yeah, you can block that with the knight. Oh, okay. No, he hasn't chosen to do that. We need to hurry up in terms of moving. Right, because we do have the upper hand here. We've just got to make sure we can use it and win in time. I feel like I'm missing a lot of stuff and I'm rushing because of the clock. Maybe just here now. Because now that knight's got 2 defenders on it, it's not going to be that easy for him to attack. Harass the queen. I want to be able to take on f3. Get the queen into f2. That'd be very nice. Let's just get that queen into f2 anyway. It threatens that now threatens bishop takes f3, which is mate. Well, not mate, but if he takes back, he'll lose the queen. That's annoying. Yeah, because if he takes back now, he'll lose the queen. So we can't do anything. That was a mistake. He made a mistake there. We've got to be careful now with our 1 minute 13 seconds, but I think we can win. With 2 points up in material, he can't take the bishop. Next move, we're planning to play bishop takes f3. I don't see a way he can mate. Is he just making life more difficult for himself now? Hasn't he? He's got to take the bishop, hasn't he? With the queen. Yeah. Well, he resigned. We can take a quick look through that game. So, as far as I'm aware, it was just a Nimzo Indian Defence, but if there's a more advanced variation. So I know this position is the Nimzo Indian. I'm not quite sure what it means where he plays bishop to d2. It's quite nice because it gives you a very solid position, early castle. I love the use of this fianchetto bishop. I find that d4 is easier to play against, and I think it gives more chances for black. It really depends what kind of player you are, I guess. E4 is like having, you've got hundreds of different sub-moves and sub-variations you can go into, whereas d4, the game's a bit more fixed, So fianchetto, pawn f3, up to d5, a3 attacking the bishop. If the bishop goes back to a5, then b4, bishop's trapped. I don't really want to take that knight just because in this kind of position, the dark square bishop can be strong. This position is often considered the most valuable minor piece for black. That's not including rooks and queens in the early game. C takes d5, knight takes d5. He might have been able to trade that off. f3 was a move I really didn't like. It opens up the king's side a bit, blocks the knight from coming to f3, and also e3. The e3 pawn is a little bit backward here. Bishop to d3 is a nice move. He's exploiting the fact I haven't got knight on f3 anymore. And say, for example, queen c2, it attacks that pawn because there's no knight on f6 to defend it. Knight from b to d7, that was much better than putting it on c6. Unfortunately, I'd already played b6 to block the knight from getting to c4. e4, and the knight goes back to f6. At e5, I don't think was a very good move. I can just get the knight back into that outpost. And I think with bishop c2, he's trying to make more space for his queen, have these bishops sort of pointing down at the king's side. I don't think in this position he has much of a disadvantage. I think our position's a lot more solid than what his is. c5, knight takes d5, bishop takes d5. Bishop goes into c3, and I just play my rook across to the c file. It's going to be very valuable having these 2 bishops and this rook. It's going to be interesting to see what I missed in the game. Knight to e2, queen to c7, queen to d3. He's threatening mate there. I had to play g6 as long as I can keep that dark square bishop out, because that dark square bishop becomes very valuable after I exposed. For example, if these pawns weren't here, he'll have control of his diagonal. He's just got to get a queen to h6 or f6, and it's pretty much game. And difficult defenses. Moving that knight's a little bit useless. I can go ahead and take on d4, threatening to win the bishop. He takes back with the bishop, but that means I can win the pawn with the knight. So I'm now officially a pawn up. He can trade off, but with check. If he played, a move like queen e2, I'll take the knight. I don't want a queen trade in this position because I'm now winning. Knight to e2. Bishop to h4 check. I'm not sure if it was the best move. Eventually, it was a factor that helped to win the game because it weakens f3 even more. So it was kind of nice just to have it, but I really wanted to get this bishop on c5 and attack down there. Castling, again, there's a weak diagonal here. Firstly, I pin that queen, attacking the queen. He wants a queen trade, I say no way. Queen c5 check, king h1. And now bringing the rook across to d8 to obviously, access the open files. Rook from f to e1. And now I see the most natural move is bishop to d5, just because his diagonal is very, very weak. He's not trying to offer up queen trades, which is quite nice of him. I might have played the queen to d5 if I was him. Actually, no, don't do that. Queen d5 results in bishop takes f3 check, winning the queen, because obviously that rook is then attacking the queen. So bishop to d6, just really harassing this queen. And once the queen is out the limelight, I think queen f2 was a great move. His king's a bit surrounded now. Bishop to e4. He didn't see that this pawn was pinned, so bishop takes. And now he trades a rook just as a stalling move. But after rook g1, bishop takes f3 is pretty much game. There's two things he can do here to protect the mate. The first thing he can do is rook g2, which results in queen takes g2 mate. Alternatively, he can take here, losing the queen. So I play queen takes f3, but then after a while, I'll be able to win this knight, get this rook onto the first rank, and there'll be a pretty quick mate there. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that video, everybody. I've been Knight Fighter 22. I wish you